Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Good evening, I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, October 9th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, excited to be here. Breeders' Cup talk. We're rounding the corner. Breeders' Cup coming up here very, very quickly. All the winning your ends are done. Love that. I don't really know what we learned the last few weeks with winning your ends, but yeah, we're onward to the Breeders' Cup now.
Yeah, I mean, things we've learned, I guess, would be, well, we learned a lot about the juveniles, let's say, last week, at least one in particular, and maybe a few of those other ones that we had talked about last week that, we're like, hey, they ran off the screen in the previous starts. Let's see what they do here. One didn't disappoint. The others, even though one of them did win, we'll talk about her in a sec, after the DQ, he kind of left you not too confident moving forward. And then It's Our Time was not his time and is obviously not even going to run in the Breeders' Cup, it sounds like now. So, okay, so we'll start with first things first. Torpedo Anna, I think, is the big news. Doesn't run well, at Keeneland, and now it sounds like maybe done completely. So Torpedo Anna, we don't know for sure. It seems very unlikely at the very least that she'll even be that she will run in the Breeders' Cup. She could have been a single, meaning if she would have ran huge at Keeneland, like showed her old ways, she could have been like gotten into the Breeders' Cup, like, hey, this is gonna be really tough to beat. Now she's not even in the race, and the race becomes a little bit more wide open.
Yeah, definitely a wide open time to retire, no doubt about it. I really think the Travers took just a ton out of her back last year. She never did really get back to herself after that. And, I think she was so classy. She was able to just keep winning, but never really had that brilliance and had those couple of races where she didn't show up at all. That's not her at all. So, yeah, it's sad, but also it's nice, in my opinion, that she's going to retire sound and everything like that. So it does kind of make that race wide open. Just a heartbreaking race, really, for a couple of reasons with her, and then for me, singling nitrogen, betting nitrogen, and that happened where it couldn't win the race, and it makes it wide open. I think it's either going to run through Baffert or it's going to be kind of a longer price, but that's kind of the point of today's show. We'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, I was sad to see Torpedo Anna run like that, but at the same time, not really surprised. I just think, man, she has danced every dance, and eventually they just get tired.
Yeah, and it always seems like it happens more so to the fillies or mares, where it's just kind of like when they're done, they can just do a complete 180, go from being elite to I don't want to do it anymore. And and it happened earlier in the year when she ran a dud. And they scoped her and did all the things, and no, she was fine. There's no issues with her. She comes back, runs, okay, the next two starts and wins. And then once again, ran a dud. And once again, nothing really came back from it. And I think that was kind of McPeak's like, okay, there's nothing. That's twice now that, nothing's been wrong. And really, she owes us nothing, he said multiple times, which she doesn't. Horse of the year last year, obviously, just an unbelievable year. And one of the best mares certainly he's had ever, and one of the better mares that we've ever had because of being winning horse of the year last year. So you always say, I'll say this though, it is always sad. Not really sad is the right word, but it's a bummer when a horse like that goes out, like kind of not even if she lost, but loses by a nose or something. But like kind of like Zenyatta where she lost, but you're like, yeah, man, she was awesome still. But when a horse kind of like doesn't run well at all, and it's like then you never see him again, it's kind of a bummer because you wish that she would have kind of gone out on top. But yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks to see her go.
You never want to see, she's last and she's retired. I mean, I totally agree. It's depressing. And, even if she runs second or third in that race, you feel like she fired a decent enough effort. Maybe that's even better. But, it's to the point now, the first time they don't show up for a race, you kind of go, well, hey, that happens. But she's kind of giving you that sign, in my opinion, of like, hey, just retire. It's not, it's not the end of the world. That's for sure. She's done enough. She's done a whole hell of a lot. So she's giving you the sign, read the sign. And I think that's what they're doing. I don't think they're doing anything, anything egregious here at all. I think they're doing the right thing. I think they're going to evaluate it, but overall they're leaning towards, hey, it's time to retire. And I think she's telling them that.
I don't know what we learned from it other than the fact that he is legit, and that's Rhetorical. Winning the Coolmore Turf Mile, of course, now putting, his name into the hat for the Breeders' Cup Turf, or Turf Mile. So, or the mile, I guess I should say. It's certainly more tough now. The waters continue to get deeper for the horse, but for a horse that we kind of talked about last week, obviously, was my pick. Other than from the value perspective, you loved him too. It's like the fear was, hey, and you got paid for it, right? Because of the fear of, hey, he's not been running against this class of level of horses. I'm not sure if he can do it. Well, he certainly did. What do you think of him, and what do you think of him in moving forward?
I think he's got a shot. I think he'll be, one of those 4 or 5 top choices in that race, not knowing what's coming overseas. So that's kind of up in the air. But look, I mean, he beat a really, really good field. He beat a horse that I thought would win the Breeders' Cup Mile, and Diego Velasquez, who just didn't run a step. And but still, even with him not firing, that was a very difficult field. We talked about Rhetorical a lot. We gave him a shot in there, but yeah, for him to run that well, and really, for me, it was kind of a no doubt win. I know the margin doesn't really say no doubt, but he watched the race. It's like he kind of felt like he was winning that thing for a good part of the stretch. So really liked his performance. I think we're starting to find out trainer William Walden is, and when he enters, just be ready, And I mean, that's not something new that we've learned, but this was kind of a spot where it's like, yeah, you might kind of just be swinging a little bit here. And that was not the case. He was in a good spot and was able to get the job done. I thought he ran fantastic. So, can he win the Breeders' Cup? That's another step and another challenge. But if you can beat that field, you can match up with a lot of horses across not even this country, but the world.
The mile is certainly, we're going to see. We'll talk a little bit more about that here coming up, but it definitely gets tougher. But you like to see that a horse, like for him, for Rhetorical, is nice to see that he kind of won the same way he's been winning the other, the weaker races. So he's, obviously has the class to do it. It just, hadn't had the opportunity really to run and showcased it the other day. So that was cool to see. All right, let's talk a little bit about the juveniles, and then we'll move on to the show. But from last week's juveniles, there's 3 kind of main ones, but It's Our Time was not good. We kind of were speculative of that just because of where they decided to run him in that race. Did not run well. Doesn't sound like the Breeders' Cup is going to be run, in the plans for them now. Okay, so Tommy Joe and Ted Nafi, both from the Pletcher barn, both win, but one thing did not look like the other, right?
No. Ted Nafi, I think, deserving. I don't know if he'll be the favorite or Brant will be the favorite for Baffert, who skipped the last round. But Ted Nafi looked the part. I thought that was exactly how you wanted him to win. I thought he ran extremely well. Tommy Joe left a lot to be desired. Wins by disqualification. I don't think that horse was ever going to get past, even though I also think it was the right call to disqualify there. But Tommy Joe was not good at all. I think Explora for Bob Baffert was a better looking 2-year-old filly that won. But I don't know. Tommy Joe just did not fire, just didn't run on. I mean, it was pretty rough, pretty rough race there at Keeneland, and that was kind of the story in a lot of ways. Either those 3 or 2-year-old races were just kind of average at best, or we saw something really nice. And really, in the Champagne, even though It's Our Time did no running whatsoever, Napoleon Solo looked really good, but he's not going to the Breeders' Cup. So we kind of got to, for this conversation, throw him out at this point. So I overall was not real impressed with anybody not named Ted Nafi last weekend, though.
Yeah, and I'll say this, even Ted Nafi might be the Derby favorite. I mean, I know it's way early, but like as far as like the confidence, because we know how the Baffert horses go, and who will be a lot, ready to run at that point. But Ted Nafi certainly looks like the horse that, obviously it's a long way to go, but Pletcher's had pretty good success with these kind of horses and getting them to the Derby. So I do think, especially if he were to win the Juvenile, he is a legit contender for not just the Juvenile, but the Breeders' or the Kentucky Derby. Tommy Joe, that was one of those cases, man. You and I were texting obviously about it during. It's like I'm not sure she was going to win either way, but it was the right way to. It was the right decision. Like they kind of had to, but she did. I mean, she didn't look like she was. If she was getting by, it was going to be very slow.
She didn't look good in that race, but yeah, the contact was so bad that you had to do it. Like you had to take her down and put Tommy Joe up. It was brutal. And the other thing is, jockey goes left-handed on the horse that gets taken down, and the horse just veers when that happens. So I'm with you. I was watching thinking, well, that horse is coming down and Tommy Joe's going to get really lucky because she did not show up. She just did not run very well. And look, a lot of the Pletcher horses did show up and run very well, which is more damning to her. He had a horse on Sunday that ran very good on the turf as well, the 2-year-old. So she was kind of the one that really just didn't run very well at all for him. And at the same time, you're going to see a win on the resume now, and I don't know. I think she's going to be overbet. I just can't imagine she wins the Breeders' Cup off of that race.
She would have to return a big time effort that we didn't see that last out. Like you just like to see, even if it wasn't fully cranked, but just there was no separation, and like you said, like she never looked like she was moving real good the whole race, anyways. So yeah, I left that race being like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with her. And we'll talk a little bit about that coming up here. All right, guys, let's get to today's show. That's kind of a look at last weekend. Obviously, these next couple of weeks are going to be all about kind of prepping for the Breeders' Cup. I mean, the work is starting now. The Breeders' Cup betting Bible, by the way, is out right now on the website at racingdudes.com. It's at least the pre-sale is ready. Be the first to get it when it comes available. You can go ahead and pre-purchase that right now. Over on the website, it does include the 14 trends to the Breeders' Cup wagering guide with that as well, absolutely for free. So that is part of the betting Bible, which will get you both days of Breeders' Cup picks available when the cards come out. So racingdudes.com, go grab the betting Bible now. Today's show, we're going to break down and look at our strongest plays and our biggest fades for the 42nd running of the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Del Mar, highlighting our main contenders, value plays, horses we want to avoid. And really, it's early, guys. So this could change, right? But it's just kind of the early looks. We'll pull up the overseas odds and take a look at some of the horses that Halterman and I like, horses we're kind of maybe trying to avoid. And if they were to show up, because that's still in question with these international type horses, who we really like. So let's go. Yeah, that's always the trick right now is you kind of are like, you're like, who is coming over, You just don't know. You think or you hope that you're right, or that what you've heard is that they are going to come. But at the end of the day, it's hard to get too excited because you don't know for sure yet.
Yeah, no idea. And so you're guessing, but that's, it's time to start. So you just take a guess and go on.
So what we'll do is we'll kind of go through. This is from Odds Checker. We'll go through each one and kind of give a little bit of maybe if we do have an opinion one way or another, we'll go through those. And again, it's an early look. Some of these, especially these Euro international type heavy races, you're hoping they come over. So, all right. First up, Juvenile races on Friday at the Breeders' Cup. And first race up is the Juvenile Turf. Puerto Rico is your, favorite as of now, your 4-1 favorite overseas. I think this is a legit horse if this horse comes over. This feels like the Aidan O'Brien horse to have.
Yep. Hopefully he does. If Puerto Rico doesn't come over, you're probably looking for a little bit more of a shot based on the probables or kind of the speculative horses that are coming over. What I'll say about this one, I just don't like a lot of the United States horses at this moment for this race. I don't think we have a bad group, but I don't think there's one or two like horses that feel like they're really, really good. And usually with the American runners, you got to be pretty good to win this race. So I'm looking international. I do have Puerto Rico on top right now. But like I said, this is very much the preliminary stages because we just have no idea who's coming over.
From what I did some research because I mean, again, you don't know, but it does sound like this is the horse that he plans on bringing, at least for this race. Again, still don't know. But it's Aiden O'Brien is very dominant in this race, and when he has a horse that comes, like this, that he brings over, this horse has been very good overseas. If the horse does, this is one of those races, one of the to me out of the juvenile races. Ted Nafi obviously enters the chat a little bit as well, but like where you're like, all right, I can have some confidence betting these European invaders in the juvenile turf because they just have been so dominant in this race over the years. As long as they don't, get or scratch before the race and run for purse money only.
Right. That's never good. And it's been weird, right? The trend of the juvenile turf has been pretty much international. Juvenile fillies turf, not so much.
Yeah. Good segue there as we move on to that one. True Love, 7-2, precise, 5-1, time to drain, 8-1, switch to Love, 10-1. I didn't have a lot of commentary on this one yet because it's one of those races that's always been hard to kind of gauge.
I think True Love, if she comes over, is going to be very, very difficult to beat in this one. I think looks pretty good on paper right now. So again, you're talking about strong bets or fades. I think Puerto Rico and True Love are two that you're going to look at as strong bets, just depending on who else comes over or if they come over altogether. So for both of these two races for me right now, as we sit here October 9th, if the big Aiden O'Brien horses come over, it's going to be hard pressed, I think, to beat them. If neither of the big Aiden O'Brien horses come over, I think you can go price hunting in these races and be just fine and get through using some longer prices. So and what I'm trying to say is when I look at the other probables from overseas, I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag a little bit for me, at least in this preliminary state. But the two that are kind of the shorter odds on the international markets, I kind of like them right now. But again, sometimes those come over, like we get Lake Victoria last year, and it's like just single and move on. And sometimes they do not, and that's where you get your prices.
All right, let me go to this one because honestly, if this horse comes over, I may bet a lot of money on this one. Charles Darwin in the juvenile turf sprint, you're 4-1 favorite overseas. This has kind of been one of the tricky ones. At first, this race was very heavy on the American speed, but it started to shift a little bit. I think what you're seeing is you're starting to see these better international horses start to show up for this one as well. And Charles Darwin, dude, has just been really, really good. Now, I have no idea. Like, I could not find much, like, if they were going to come over or not. But if this horse does, I really like.
I am skeptical that they'll bring this horse over, but our kind of turf sprinters don't look great right now on the juvenile side of things. That's for sure. We had Schwarzenegger win as a maiden in one of the winning year ends, and really didn't look all that impressive. So, for me, I like Johnny's Red Storm quite a bit right now, 12-1 on the international markets. That's kind of my pick as of today. But again, I was kind of speculative of Charles Darwin coming over. I kind of looked at this race and thought, I'm not sure they're going to bring that one. And if, again, they don't, then it becomes a wide open affair. So we're not trying to be wishy-washy these three races. At least I'm not trying to be. It's just I can't sit here and give you really, really strong opinions when I don't know the international horses. And look, in the turf races at the Breeders' Cup, until you know them, it's hard to talk real serious about it. Now, I do love that we have a kind of a list and we've got some horses, and you kind of do a little research, read between the lines. You kind of start to get an idea, so you have some horses in your head. But again, I can't tell you much. I'm going price hunting at this moment, and then we'll see what happens when they actually draw the race.
Listen, it's been very like I said, this race has been weird. It's been 7 years when they started this race, and speed has won 5 of them. So it's always been kind of a heavy on the speed. It wasn't last year, right? But speed does win a lot. And 5 of those horses were 3-1, or average of 3-1. So it's typically, but those horses were really, some of those horses that ran in this race that were fast were really good. And so this race is, to me, has been one of the harder ones for me to kind of hone in on a trend, because I think one thing is it's just such a new race. They're still very new. And, we're starting to see, again, I think early on, it was like straight up American speed, right? Because I don't think this wasn't really their bag necessarily to have like a sprinter on the turf. It was more like those distance horses for the juveniles. And now you're starting to see it, I think, a little bit better horses come over here for this. And so if that trend continues, then I do think this race becomes a little more kind of formful in a sense of good horses coming from overseas. So we'll see. I hope Charles Darwin comes over because that's a cool horse. But we'll find out. All right. Juvenile, we talked about this horse a little bit already. Do you think for you that secured a bet for Ted Nafi in the Juvenile?
Right now, I'm with Ted Nafi. Yeah, I thought he looked better than anything we saw the last couple of weekends. Brandt for Bob Baffert didn't run, so we'll see how he does, how he comes into it. For me right now, I am on Ted Nafi. I thought he did everything the right way. I thought he stretched out really nicely to the mile and 16th. So, this is the first one where it's like I just at this moment he just kind of looks like the one for me.
Do you know if Wesley Ward has any for the turf sprint that he's aiming for that's been a race?
I would say Schwarzenegger would be the big one. I don't know if he will aim anybody else. Schwarzenegger is a horse that Wesley Ward has been super, super high on for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. But before he ever even started, heard a lot of hype on the horse. Looked like was going to win his maiden by like 20 and just stopped, and then kind of looked good for a while that race at Keeneland and kind of slowed down again. But Schwarzenegger is the one that he'll be sending to the turf sprint, juvenile turf sprint.
The very super interesting aspect of this race is, again, here's what I would say. And I don't want to give away every trend that we're doing because it's free with the betting Bible, but the thing one of the most interesting trends of the race of all 14 races is this one, I think, because you basically, when you're handicapping the juvenile, to me, you don't necessarily want to handicap it on this race. And it seems weird to say, but you almost need to okay, do I think this horse can win this race? And 2, do I think this horse is like a quality horse? Meaning, do I think this horse will stick around and be in the Kentucky Derby next year? Because that has been a very heavy trend over the last 10 years of horses that have won this race went on to run in the Kentucky Derby. And so I think when you're handicapping this, it helps kind of back out some of those horses that you're like, oh, this horse has a shot, but it's trained by someone random and it's a big price. And you know what I mean? Like, you just have that feeling like, I don't know that horse is a Derby type horse, but I think he can win here. And that's really not the case for this race. So I think when you're handicapping this one, if you are playing, say, a longer shot in the race, you still want to have that belief of, hey, I think this is like a legit horse moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's well said. And I think he is one of those horses that kind of projects to move forward pretty decently. Right. So talk about Ted Nafi. A lot of people talking about Intrepido, who won out at Santa Anita, won the American Pharoah. He beat a bunch of Bob Bafferts, and that's not easy to do, right? So I do think that's one that makes sense if you want to kind of support that horse. The only problem is, like Manlow says, if it's double digits, I'm not sure you'll get double digits because I think Brant will take money, but past that, would Intrepido be the third choice because of Napoleon Solo not coming out for it, because he beat the Baffert horses? I mean, all of a sudden, there's not a lot of big names. Now, Ted Nafi and Brant are big names. Past that, there's not a lot of horses that we've talked about just all year long in this race, right? So
Yeah,
I don't know what the price will be, but I certainly don't mind you wanting to take a shot with that. That makes sense.
I don't see how that horse wouldn't be a third choice. Just based off logic, because like you said, he's like, okay, well, here are your options. You got the horse that the beast from East, and that's Ted Nafi, and you've got Brant, who bypassed the last race, but he's been very good. And then who beat all the other, because we talked about the Baffert Pharaoh Stakes, and they all were in there, and then Trepido won, and so it's like, all right, well, he took care of all the other ones that you'd want to, be interested in. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think, you're going to get that 10-1 might be more like 5-1, on the day, to kind of depending on, because I do think Brant is the unknownness, the talent / unknownness, meaning he didn't run in his last prep, will still aid a lot of people betting him. Ted Nafi certainly will be a heavy price, I would assume, but I don't know how that horse isn't bet down significantly in Trepido.
Yeah. I think Blackout Time is interesting, but another one I don't know what the odds will be. I thought he ran very well. He got bet hard in the futurity and ran a good second. I think Blackout Time maybe is a longer price that could be worth a shot. But yeah, I mean, again, at this point, it does look like Ted Nafi is a pretty good horse. That's 3 really good races in a row for him.
All right, coming up with my first kind of steady fade here, and that's the Juvenile fillies. Tommy Joe 5-1 on here. I can't bet this horse in this race at any price, really. I guess maybe like 10-1 I might play it, but how many are you a fade on Tommy Joe in the Breeders' Cup?
Well, yeah, for Tommy Joe, I could not fade Tommy Joe even more or any more than I hate that horse moving forward. I don't think that horse can be the favorite, though. That's the thing. I think Explorer will be the favorite, and I think that you got to think that Baffert's got this one, in good shape. A horse that really, really stretched out well. But I'm kind of on the let's try to find a price. The problem is this group is pretty disgusting, really. We have not seen much from this. I thought Explorer ran very well. I think Explorer it definitely improved going 2 turns. I don't think it was some kind of crazy good race, though. So we got to figure out who can we go for? Who can we get here at a little bit of a price? Who's kind of that sleeper? Because there's not a ton of talented fillies right now, in my opinion.
This has not been a very heavy favorite kind of race. The odds have been pretty high in this race in general years, right? And so in this certainly kind of looks like a race that you're going to have a hard time betting a favorite or wanting to bet a favorite anyways. And with a race that kind of looks gross, like it seems like there's a lot of possibilities here. So This is one that I kind of want to avoid completely. Could offer a lot of value too, in the sequence, depending on where it lands. But I just wanted to make sure everyone understood. I'm fading Tommy Joe in the Breeders' Cup, and I knew that the moment that race ended, I was all right, never mind.
What about Percy's Bar, the horse that did finish ahead of her? Is that anything for you or no?
Well, hey, I'll tell you this: if Percy's Bar, and again, you don't know, but like say she's 8-1 and Tommy Joe's 3-1 or 7-2 or 4, whatever, 5-1 even, I'd probably play Percy's Bar over her, just because the value there. I mean, she's a horse that's getting better, right? She's kind of improved with each start. So I would have a lot more interest in just based on the perceived value of Percy's Bar than with Tommy Joe.
How about the Grumpy Rabbit who got third? By the way, I certainly, if you would tell me who got third, asked me who got third, I would not have guessed the Grumpy Rabbit. And I sat there and watched the race, so that's hilarious. But anyway.
No idea, no clue. So, Yeah, I again, this is probably one of the worst races of the Breeders' Cup, honestly. So
Yeah.
all right, let's move to Saturday's racing. With the Breeders' Cup, filly and mare turf, Mini Hawk. This is a really interesting horse. If she were to come over, is your favorite Cinderella's Dream? Is the second choice there? What do you think of Mini Hawk? She's also one of the betting horses here in the turf. I don't know that she'll run there, but what do you think of her if she were to run in the filly mare turf?
I think she will dominate the filly mare turf if she's in it. I really, really like Mini Hawk. I put Mini Hawk as my top pick when I did the video this week for the filly mare turf. I do know, though, that they're kind of looking at the regular turf, which is going to be a much tougher race to win. But she's a lot shorter odds on this international board for the regular turf, which tells me they kind of think she's running there, right? So I think she runs the filly and mare turf. She wins. If she does not, I'm looking at a price in this one.
Well, don't you think it's interesting though? Like, because I'm with you. Like, I like her way less if they go to the turf. Having said that, the fact that we're like, if she we're to run here, she would be, I'm not saying she'd be a single, but maybe, be like a really strong chance to win. And they're bypassing that to run on the turf. Must mean they think she's very, very good. So then I'm kind of like, okay, well, I'm on the fence with what to do with her because I'm with you. I like her way more here. But if they have the confidence to run her on the turf, then you got to take a look at that.
Yeah, I think she wins either race. How about that?
Whoa. So that would mean Rebels Romance would be a fade for you, huh?
I think she can beat him. Yeah. I think they're gonna look. I know it's early. I think they're gonna look at it and go, well, let's just win this one, filly mare turf, and go to that. That's what I'm hoping.
I know, right? I'm hoping that too.
Yeah, but I think she's gonna. I mean, I think she's one of the better ones that's gonna come over, if not the best one that's gonna come over.
Who is that? Is that Aiden?
Yep.
So Aiden also doesn't Aiden have which we'll get to in a second, the turf, but they is it Ombudsman? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
So to me, and I really like that horse.
I do too.
And so you gotta assume, that if they do run that, if that horse does come over as well, like that could be your turf. This one could be your filly mare turf, right? I mean, again, I don't.
Yeah.
But that to me would be the perfect scenario because I would really like to bet both of them.
Well, like Monday and Tuesday, and then a little bit on Wednesday to prepare for the Wednesday video, I did a lot of research. And when I was looking at this, I thought, well, this just makes too much sense to run Mini Hawk here because you've kind of got a horse or two even that you might be able to beat Rebels Romance with anyway in the turf. So get this filly and mare turf with Mini Hawk. But from what I read, it seems like more of the turf. But I just think from a logic standpoint, the filly and mare turf does make sense. So
yeah.
I kind of copped out and put her as a top pick in the filly mare turf. I would love her in that race. And obviously, I think the way I'm at right now, I think I might pick her in the regular turf, but you're obviously it's such a tougher race, in my opinion. So then it becomes questionable.
Yeah, they might be, you might want to be one of those situations where it's like, let's not overlook this. If they're deciding to run in the turf against, the defending champion who also looks very good. And then, if the Ombudsman comes over or whatever, you're like, oh, okay. Now they're deciding to run her there. She might be kind of a freak. So that is something to pay attention to as we get closer. It's still too early to know. But for now, for this, like the odds on the screen, we're both betting Mini Hawk. Let's go to the filly and mare sprint. Copian. You can get her at 5-2 or 3-1, apparently. But Sweet Azteca at 10-3, Ways and Means 9-2, Hope Road 6-1, Tamara, whatever, 7-1, Hall and Ice, double digits. So this race to me, dude, just seems like it's a clusterfuck, and I don't know if I want anything. I don't know if I want anything to do with Copian.
Yeah, I kind of, the more I look at it, I kind of agree with you because Copian's a weird one because she ran a race at Churchill earlier in the year. That was like, wow, that is a horse that may not lose this year. She was so good. She beat really good horses in a sprint. And then the next time we saw her was at Los Al, which was weird. And she got waxed. And then they stretched her out to 2 turns. She ran pretty well, but got beat by Seismic Beauty, who got loose on the lead. Haven't seen her since. So it's like, man, what a weird kind of thing. We don't really know if Copian's going to run here or going to run long either. She might run in the distaff. I wouldn't be shocked if she does. All this saying, I don't really have any idea. So I think price hunting makes the most sense at this moment in this race.
Yeah, I don't like this race at all. I think maybe I'll be a sucker for Sweet Azteca again. I don't know if the price is right, but I would hope. I mean, I would hope they would run her here, Copian, that is, because I don't know, like that race was. It was visually kind of impressive the way she like came flying, couldn't get to the loose on the lead, Seismic Beauty, but you're like, oh yeah, like that was pretty, she kind of put an effort in there that looked okay. And then so it's kind of visually like, I don't know. But then part of me is like, I don't think she wants anything to do with going that long. I think it just visually looked pretty decent. I think she's a good horse. I don't know. But yeah, I'm like, I just don't, all that being said, I don't want anything to do with her at 2-1, 3-1, wherever this price might be if she were to run here. So
no, it makes total sense. Like I said, it's been a weird campaign. I don't know what they're trying to do with her. And listen, Mandela, obviously he's a very good trainer, but it's been odd. I don't think you could sit her with a straight face and say it hasn't been odd. And she has not lived up to what we thought she was going to do.
Well, I hate anytime you have a horse like that because it basically is the owners or trainer or whatever telling you they don't know either what to do with the horse. And, when you have a horse running on different distances or even different surfaces or whatever, you're just like, what are we doing? And so it makes it hard to have a confidence of, okay, now we've decided we're going to run here. And, and it happens to be the Breeders' Cup, makes it even more challenging to figure out. So,
yep, agreed.
All right, let's go to the turf, the Breeders' Cup turf. Let's pretend, Halterman, that Minnie Hawk is running in the filly and mare turf because she is the favorite here as well, which I guess also is kind of telling us if she does run here, the international markets definitely like her wherever she goes. But let's say she runs the other one, you're looking at Rebels Romance versus the previously mentioned Ombudsman, also Aiden O'Brien horse. So really you kind of go between them. Would there be one? Would you be, we talked a little bit about this, or at least I did, where it's like, hey, Rebels Romance would be really tough to beat in the turf unless, and I said unless, another international horse comes over that looks like a challenger. And one or the other, Minnie Hawk or Ombudsman, certainly looks like a decent challenger.
Well, I think it says an awful lot that Rebels Romance, these are international odds, by the way, that we're showing because we don't have any here in the United States. Why would we do that? But I think it's very telling to show that Minnie Hawk is half the price of Rebels Romance and Ombudsman is the same price as Rebels Romance. That tells you these European bettors, that tells you what they think of these horses, right? And that shows you the respect they have for Minnie Hawk. So, look, I think it's a top-heavy race. I certainly believe we're going to see a really strong race. And I think whoever ends up running here, they're going to be it's going to be very competitive. What I'll tell you, though, is Rebels Romance, he looks to be in tremendous form. We've seen him win here in big races. We've seen him win at Del Mar in a big race last year, right? So I've got confidence he's going to show up and run well. It's just a simple fact of, is there anybody better out there? And if there is, let's see what happens.
Well, also interesting is Ombudsman and Rebels Romance, both owned by Godolphin.
Mm-hmm.
And, what do? They can run both of them. And, if they do, does that tell you that Rebels Romance is no lock? I don't know. We've seen it before. It's not like that big of a deal. But, I do think that these odds are interesting. And, it's really tough to Rebels Romance looking to win this race 3 times now with this one. And, and to do it back to back. He's getting older. Yes, he's got the the experience in the seasoning, which goes a long ways in this race in particular. But if if both of these horses come and run in this race against him, he's going to have to be really good. And I think there's some value there. because obviously a lot of money. I mean, again, this is international overseas markets. It's not per mutual. If Mini Hawk isn't in the race, I gotta assume Rebels Romance will be somewhat of a similar. I'd say like 5-2, 2-1. O'Budsman might be 4-1, somewhere in that ballpark. I might play against Rebels Romance.
Let me ask you this, because it's the United States and this is not overseas, that'll be making the odds, obviously, for the Breeders' Cup. Could Rebels Romance be favored over a horse like Mini Hawk in our markets?
Oh man, because of the kind of we've seen him many times, and it's a name that we know, and obviously Appleby's had great he's had really good record in the Breeders' Cup. Yeah, I think it's possible, if not at the very least, very close to the similar price.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this: is it too much to say that we're fading Rebels Romance? Because that's kind of what I'm getting at here from both of us. And I didn't really want to, but then I was like, the more I looked at the race, I'm like, I don't know that I want to play him when Mini Hawk and or O'Budsman is going to be in this race. And I do think Rebels Romance will be the favorite of the race at post time. And so because I think that I'm fading him, I didn't think I was going to do that.
I think it just depends on who's in it. It just depends on who's in it. I kind of said after he won in press release, it would be interesting to see what European horses give him a shot here. And like I said, if we get one or two serious ones, yeah, look, I really believe he can be defeated in this race. We have seen him lose once at the Breeders' Cup, believe it or not. He's 1, 2 out of 3. He just wasn't in good form at all that year that he lost, though. But yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I wouldn't commit to fading him because you just don't know who's going to be in it. But winning this 3 out of 4 years would be very, very tough.
I hadn't read. Let's see, I'm seeing some of this. I've read that he's going to see that's not for sure. Now, I did see, Jason, that he is, which I mispronounced. It's not Aiden, it's Gosden. But it is both owned by Godolphin. But I'd seen that the plans were to run the horse over here, and then I think Ascot and Japan even. So I don't know what they're going to do with the horse, but I'm leaving it open, I guess, is the best way if the horse runs here.
Yeah, I think there's going to be 2 outstanding, maybe 3, but 2 for sure outstanding races. And the Turf is one of them, and the Classic's the other one we're going to get to. So, people talking about Goliath, people talking about other horses in this race as well. I think this has a chance to be incredible. I really, really do. So hopefully we get those heavy hitters and we see what happens.
Well, and the reality too is, let's say Mini Hawk runs in the filly and mare Turf. Let's say he's right, Budsman doesn't even come, and Rebels Romance is now sitting in this race as a very clear favorite once again. Now the fade becomes a bet, right? And I mean, so that's part of doing this on October 9th. Almost a little less than a month away. You just don't. You're just kind of guessing with what these international horses, which ones are actually going to come. So the race can vastly change based on who does. Speaking of international horses, let's go to the Breeders' Cup Mile. Notable Speech, looking to get the job done. Didn't do it last year. Looking to do it here. 7-2 on the market. Where are you at with Notable Speech?
Yeah, I was really super high on this horse last year, and didn't run poorly, but at the same time, man, I thought he was going to win. Got third. I liked the prep. He was pretty good in that race. He's a little, I don't want to call it green. He's not the smoothest mover. Let's just call it that. So I've got him on top at the moment. I could be talked into several other ones, though. I want to see who actually comes over for the race as well. I'm not 100% sold right now on Notable Speech, although I will say I do have him on top at the moment, that this is definitely one I'm going to go back over.
Yeah, I think the issue is I have such a sour taste in my mouth with him after last year because even the top of the stretch, I thought he was gonna win. So it's just, and it doesn't help that it was at Del Mar as well, and now we're back. So I'm hesitant. Having said that, he's coming into the race better than he did last year coming into the race. I think he's got him kind of where he wants him. And Appleby has even said, like, hey, this is going to be one of my top horses I bring over. Right. And so I think he's not shying away from running him back here. And probably knows he should have won that race last year and not shying away from it this year. So I'll probably end up playing him. That's why I got him as a bet. But I'm kind of with you. Let's see if I can be talked out of it, depending on what the field looks like.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Like I like I said, I liked him last year. He ran well here this year. So I think it's 50-50. I'll either be him or somebody else that comes over that really impressive. But I just feel like, end of the day, I kind of know myself. I feel like I will eventually be on him. I'm on him right now, but I think I'll land on him when all is said and done.
All right. Well, I don't know about this one. The Dirt Mile. Nysos is MIA. Patch Adams is retired. And Full Serrano at 6-1 after failing to win, going longer last out. Of course, he is the defending champ. Maybe he can do it again. Mind Frame is in here. We'll see where he ends up, although I think he's going to be in the Classic. Some of these horses that could have ran in the Derby or could have ran in the Derby in the Classic are on the under. I think that just tells you they don't know who's going to run in those races for sure. White Barrio is going to run in this race. He's 10-1. I mean, I guess I should ask, Full Serrano is your favorite, unless you think Nysos is actually going to run. What are you doing with this one?
Yeah, I'm shopping for a price here. I kind of like Locked a little bit. That's who I'm on at the moment. That could change though. I don't really want to play Full Serrano if that's the favorite. Probably like the Nysos thing, he might still run. If he does, and let's pretend it's a world where he's healthy, shouldn't he be like 3-5? In this race, but I just don't know. I don't know what'll happen there. We know Patch is out. I think Mind Frame, like I said, will go to the Classic. I'm pretty sure this is the race for Locked. So I like him in this spot quite a bit. I think he would make a lot of sense. Past that, like I just don't have a lot of interest in much here. Past, say, Locked, and maybe, I don't know, why Barrio cut him back. Maybe that's a thing, right? Citizen Bull, maybe that's a thing at a decent price. I could do that one as well. I'm just kind of throwing things at the wall here when it comes to this race. I'm not sure.
This race, let me just tell you, on Friday during the Juvenile fillies, I'll be probably going to get, going to pee break and, something. And then on this race, I'll be doing the same on Saturday. I'm going to try to stay away from those two races as much as I can. Now, both of them present value, assuming you don't, whatever with Nysos. And listen, if Nysos is in the race, it's almost one of those things that it's like, am I going to overthink it? You know what I mean? Because if he's in the race and he is healthy, I mean, shit, he should win this thing. But there's a lot of ifs there, and it's never good when a horse continues to, basically the reason he got into the race is because he backtracked his way there. And so, I don't know. I just kind of keep in a safe distance, I feel like, of this race.
Nysos is a weird / frustrating / whatever you want to call it, because he's pretty much a standout versus what I think is going to enter here. But like you said, let's say he runs, but he's not really healthy. Although, look, there's vets that are supposed to catch stuff like that, and they're supposed to be very good for the Breeders' Cup. So I guess maybe we say, look, if he runs in the race, surely he's okay,
If he sneaks by the vets, he must be good enough to run. So
Yeah, but we know how this thing goes, and that's not really the reality that you deal with in horse racing, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it is frustrating because he's gonna look very, very good on paper if he enters against what we kind of project the field's gonna be. So we'll see what happens. And then like Kevin B says, might enter him in scratch on Friday, and then
Yeah, I know, right?
now what do I mean? I try to block out what people tell me anymore because it's a lot of bullshit usually. But like I've had several people who should know say that Nisos is he's not well.
Right.
But I've had people tell me that and horses run off the screen. So I try to ignore it honestly anymore. But there you go.
All right, let's go to the turf sprint and our girl here, AG Bullet. At is that girl or boy? I think it's a girl, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I always want to say because it doesn't sound like a girl name, but I think it is. 5-1. Another one of those races for me. I mean, I don't know that I would want to play against her, but because she's very good. But having said that, I know you like her a lot. So are you gonna have the confidence to bet her here?
No, I don't think so. I'll probably go price shopping. Now, we have no idea what the odds are going to be on this. And we may get to the draw and maybe she's a better price, but still, I don't think so for me. I kind of like Arizona Blaze right now. Horses 8-1, the overseas markets. I think that horse makes sense. But this is very much okay, here's the entries. Now let's make a decision. I just can't. I can't think about AG Bullet right now winning this race until I kind of see it. I think there's better options. So I'm looking for a price in this one.
I don't have a lot of confidence in this one at all either.
No.
I like her a lot. And better a lot, but I think it says a lot that she's the favorite of this one is 5-1. As far as the overseas, but like I don't think anybody really knows what to do here, let alone who's gonna run. We don't have that turf sprint star that we have had in the past and certain years where it's like at the very least looks like a strong favorite and doesn't always win. You don't really have that this year, so it just seems like it's a very wide open affair. So I'm gonna wait and see on this one. I don't have a lot of an opinion of this race in particular. So and I think the odds show that. All right, let's go to kind of the main races here, the distaff. And again, mentioned in the opening, Torpedo Anna is out. I mean, not for sure, but it seems like that's where they're leading to, and maybe we're even retired. So Torpedo Anna, scratch that one out. But Cavallari, Seismic Beauty, kind of the pick there, and Nitrogen. Let's just throw her in there as well. Those top three. Do you think this is between one of the Baffords here?
Kind of feels it, doesn't it? And it's like, okay, do I want the one that's kind of been a little bit more impressive, but it's coming off that long layoff, or do I want the one that ran out at Santa Anita just a couple of weeks ago with Cavallari? He kind of feels like he's got this horse, or he's got this race, in his back pocket a little bit because, boy, it'd be tough to support Nitrogen off of that last race there in the Juddmonte Spinster, where I don't know how she loses. Darth Vader could win, but I don't know. Clicquot was able to win the Cotillion, but I'm not sure on that one either. Immersive, I don't know. Copian, like this isn't a very good race, right? So I think if one of these two Baffords run well, I think they're going to win the race.
Yeah, I hate Nitrogen if they run her here. Like if you can't get by Jin, I don't know how you're going to get by one, if not, obviously one of those Baffords will be not wanting to quit up front, right? And I think Seismic Beauty could be really tough here. I like her a lot. I think I like her more than Cavallari, but again, that's an opinion, and in my opinion, but I do think it is between one of those two. Now that we've seen that before, and and obviously it doesn't work, and this is the race, Jin wins or something. Yeah. But the distaff over the years is an interesting race now because this race has been historically in the classic really have been historically very formful. It's been even when a favorite doesn't win, it's very much like a a logical contender, you know. And
Yep.
so without Torpedo Anna now, the race becomes interesting because she was certainly the class of the race, and now it's like, all right, who is the class now, and maybe who's the up and comer is the better question to ask. And because she's not in the race, the odds will be shifted quite a bit because she's one thing about her. Anytime she is in a race, she takes a lot of money, and she's not in it now. At least we don't think she will be, and that becomes tricky with which Baffert is going to take the most money.
It is, yeah. And again, they're kind of a weird set. I think a Cavallari's race was super good. So maybe the recency with Cavallari, that's the one that takes the money. I'm not sure who the jockey is. Will be very interesting as well. They kind of lead us in one direction or another. Look, it's a situation where when you take Torpedo Anna out of last year's crop, it's not great, right? And then you look at this year's 3-year-old crop, hasn't really developed. I mean, still the best 3-year-old is actually more of a turf horse, right? And that makes for a pretty shitty Breeders' Cup race.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if Nitrogen would have won this last weekend, and you're like, okay, you go into it thinking, all right, well, maybe she is, but now you're just like, I don't know. I mean,
I thought I would come out of the race with Nitrogen as the pick, and I thought mid-stretch Nitrogen was going to do what I thought, and then she didn't. So,
oops. All right. Let's skip the Classic. We'll go to that one last. Let's go to the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and I mean, Nisos is here too. Imagination. In Toronto, 4-1. Copian's in here. Straight No Chaser. I mean, Mulligan. The same old names here. Alterman. Where are you going? What do you think of this one?
It's I mean, it's going to be a competitive race, but it's. I really think Bookham Dano could run backwards and win, and he's not coming. And then I really was starting to love Patch Adams, and he gets hurt and he's done. So I really have no idea. I think it's a wide open affair. I ended up putting Captain Cook on top, which is really just crazy. But I thought, look, if I thought Patch Adams was going to win this race, well, Captain Cook almost beat him, and he's with Fletcher now, and that was so much better than what we've seen. So I put him on top at the moment. So looking at a price, obviously, but I really don't want to play Ben Tornado. I don't fully want to play Imagination. Straight No Chaser, just one race off of a long layoff. I'm not sure he can repeat. And it's just like, oh boy, this is tough.
I wouldn't bet Imagination with Kevin's money, Kevin B's money. Like I just have at that price, I have 0.0% interest in Imagination. I mean, he looked awesome, and that, you know, maybe he takes a ton of money because of that, and who ends up running in the race. And he's certainly, what I do know is he's going to be overbet now because of his last race, and because of the lack of anyone decent in the race. I have no interest in him at anywhere in the ballpark of the price he is. So I hate this race. So I know I don't like him. I'm with you. I mean, I just not, you know, we typically, this is typically a race that we have a feel for, you know, that there's at least one solid sprinter that's coming in as a sprinter, and we did until they decided not to run him, right? Yeah. And so that's the problem, that once he left, there's no one else, and then then Patch Adams, and then now there's another one not else, and now you're just like, I don't know what I like to do. And I'm like you, Dennis. Like I kind of like Ben Toronto or whatever the hell you pronounce it, but not as a favorite, you know, and that's where he's at right now. And you know, I don't know. It'd be hard to say Mulligan could get it done, although he has been kind of the, you know, the bridesmaid all year, basically running against better horses, but that better horse isn't in the race, and maybe this could be the final of the race. He did it. I don't know.
I've picked Mulligan a lot over his career and been right some and wrong some, and you know, I think he's just ran into Bookham Dano a million times, and he's just not as good, but he's not here. So if you like Mulligan, hell, I may like him too by the time we get to the day of the race. That's how this is right now.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the main event of the day, of course, maybe one of the best classics of all time, the Breeders' Cup Classic. And, that is kind of the situation we had with Bieza this year, where in journalism, frankly, when they got away from sovereignty, they could win, right? Or when Bieza got away from journalism and sovereignty, he could win. And now, here they are facing, all of them going to face each other again. So maybe that is a situation like Mulligan in that race. But sovereignty is a very, very short price here at 2-1 on the overseas markets. Your defending champions here, Leon 11-2, Fierceness at 8-1, Forever Young 10-1. Journalism 12-1, Mindframe 12-1, Nisos is 14, Bieza 16-1, Antiquarians 20-1, Romantic Warrior 20-1, Nevada Beach is at 25-1. So if you look at those, Halterman, I think the biggest question is, the clear question is, are we betting or are we fading sovereignty at 2-1?
Well, as we sit here right now on October 9th, sovereignty is my best bet of the Breeders' Cup. And other than maybe a couple of international horses that could come over, I don't see it changing. I know it's not going to change for the dirt races. I will be shocked if he loses.
Whoa, best bet of the Breeders' Cup.
Yep.
That's, listen, I'm with you on this race. I have no interest in playing anyone else. I think he has just been so much better than everybody. Obviously, he hasn't faced elders yet. We'll see it here, but I'm not afraid of these elders for him. So I think he's going to win. I don't know what price we'll actually end up getting. Do you think he's going to be like 8-5, 9-5, and somewhere in that kind of ballpark?
I think with the last year's Classic winner in the race, and with Fierceness coming off of one of his good efforts and not one of his bad efforts, Forever Young, really consistent. Bieza looking like a horse that's getting better. There's still a journalism, hey, maybe he's at home kind of situation. I do think you're going to get a decent enough price.
Well, what was it? Nick's Go. We got 3-1 on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nick's Go. And that's a little different because kind of different reverse, because you had the really good 3-year-old that was taking a bunch of money. Obviously he was 3-1, but maybe because you have such a good, because it's an insanely good classic. Now, obviously Sovereignty will be way bet more than Journalism Bieza because he's beat the shit out of them every time they face. But because there is the defending champion Sierra Leone, because Fiercest is in the race, because Forever Young is even in the race, it should provide somewhat of a floor for Sovereignty because of that unknownness as well of him. Because, here's the reality. Fiercest obviously will be bet more than Journalism because he's beat him, right? We don't really have that to go with Sovereignty. So I do think the unknownness of that will still create somewhat of a floor for his odds. So I wouldn't even be surprised if he's 2-1. Is it a dream to think 5-2 you could get on him?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it's impossible. I think more 9-5, 2-1 is probably where he's going to finally settle. You brought up Nick's Go. That's kind of the same level of confidence I have in Sovereignty. I was just, no doubt, it's going to be Nick's Go, right? That day, and he did it. And I just kind of feel like, no doubt, it's going to be Sovereignty. Jared Clemens brought up Flightline. No, that not even close to the confidence I had in Flightline. That day, I thought if he doesn't fall down, not only is he going to win, he's going to win by as many links as he wants to win.
Correct.
So not that kind of confidence, but it goes into the Nick's Go type of confidence when it comes to Sovereignty. I just feel like you can poke holes in all these horses, even though they're good. Like Sierra Leone's good, Fierceness is good, Forever Young, all these horses. You can have a lot of buts with those horses. What is the but with Sovereignty? He lost the Florida Derby. Where it isn't true. If he runs his Florida Derby race, he will finish off the board. You'd like to think that is somewhat behind him now.
Yeah, listen, I compare it more to, and it's a better classic than that year for sure, like as far as depth. But I compare it to the confidence I had with Pharaoh when he came to the Classic.
Yeah,
I just like, and let's be honest, like
good
Sovereignty should have been the Triple Crown winner, right? There's no like, if he ran, he wins, right? It's not. I don't think anyone is going to argue that. There's no like, well, journalism could have got him. No. So it's, to me, it's similar. Obviously, you can't say that because he didn't do it, but Pharaoh won it by what, 10, 15? I don't know what he ended up winning.
Yeah, he just dominated.
You know, and so this is a better Classic than that. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be like that, but I do think it's going to be 3+ links. I think he will just kind of do his thing. Listen, there's been absolutely nothing that he's done since the Florida Derby that makes you think that, hey, this doing this or going this or do whatever is going to change things. I think the only caveat I have, okay, and I hate this horse, but how can you not be a little nervous about him, is fierceness, because
yes,
he is proven to run well at Del Mar. He, on his best day, can be very, very good. And Sovereignty hasn't had to run down a horse like fierceness when fierceness is fierceness, if that makes sense. And so that is my only kind of like tap the brakes on this race. And that's kind of why I'm trying to level my expectations, because fierceness, that little douchebag. I'm not worried about Sierra Leone, not worried about Forever Young. I'm certainly not worried about journalism and Bieza or Mindframe. Even I like Mindframe, but I am worried about fierceness.
If you have a chance right now, if you've got odds on your sports book, or you're playing somewhere where there's odds, if fierceness is 8-1,
Yes.
take that bet right now.
Yeah.
Because you're
I
not going to
agree.
get her the day of the race, and you could turn right around and bet Sovereignty at about the same price on the day of the race that he is right now. Fierceness is the bet right now. Fierceness is the only horse I'm scared of. Now, look, does that mean Sierra Leone, Forever Young, these horses can't win? No, it doesn't. I'm surprised all the time in horse racing, literally daily. But as I look at it, fierceness, if he runs his A+ race, that's the only horse in the race where I go, I'm not sure Sovereignty gets him. I think he will, but I'm not sure. Where if Sovereignty runs his best race, I'm not worried about anybody else. Running down fierceness is a different animal. So I agree with you on that. I think in the pick fives, you play Sovereignty and fierceness. At least that's what I'm going to do, and that's it. But yeah, at 8-1 right now, fierceness is a great price. And look, I think we know with him, if he does fire that best race, it takes a special horse and a special effort that day to beat him. But we also know that he could run up the track very easily. So that's why you got to demand a decent price just to bet a win on him. And 8-1 is that price.
Do you think anyone in the race can like do enough to fierceness early to soften him up? Now, obviously, he showed all the things that you wanted him to do, he didn't do, and he won. So there's really kind of like, you can kind of like, it's hard to be like, well, if it doesn't break well, if he has pressure, if he's on the rail, or if he's behind horses, all that happened last time, and he won. So it's kind of hard to sit here and be like, well, if not journalism, with Bieza or Nisos, he's not running, but it's one of these horses goes to the front and puts a little pressure on him, could it set it up even better for Sovereignty? But there's really no rhyme or reason with fierceness other than just, hey, sometimes he runs a huge race.
Yeah, no, there's no analyzing him. There's no, let's work out a trip for him. There's, I think he's going to get X trip. Nothing. There's no reason to even look at him. And I'm telling you that right now, as a guy that my whole life is all about looking at horses and analyzing horses. I won't even look at his. I don't need to look at him.
No.
There's nothing that you could talk about with him. You have no clue, not a clue what he's going to do. And he's either going to show up and run huge, whether it be coming from dead last or whether it be going gate to wire. When he runs huge, he runs huge. That's it. That he doesn't have to have a trip like we kind of thought. He's going to show up and run huge and have a great chance, or he's going to run eighth. I mean, there's really there's not a whole lot of in between unless, somebody passes him late like Sierra Leone did and he gets second and runs a very good second. So there isn't anything to analyze. There isn't any post position. He could draw the rail. He could draw the outside. He could draw on the. It doesn't matter. It's just going to be, will he run on that day? What's he going to do? And it's up to him. I'm now know that I kind of thought Johnny V had him figured out. Nope, he doesn't. This horse does whatever he wants to do. So, whatever he shows up with, that's what you're going to get out of him.
I'm trying to think of like a good comparison.
There isn't one. There really isn't.
No. All right.
Here's the deal. Horses are inconsistent by nature.
They're horses.
The difference is very few that can get to his level, which is one of the better levels that we've seen over the last 10, 15 years. I'm not saying it's the best, but one of the better ones. They rarely run races where a claiming horse could beat them. And he does that multiple times, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference to me. The wide range of just insanity with this horse is crazy.
The thing that pisses you, well, there's a lot of things that piss you off about him, but the one that's most irritating, one of the most irritating things about him is, you want to say he's an all or nothing horse, meaning you play him in your or in your top, your pick fives or whatever, or you don't play him at all. Forget the exactas, forget the tries. But the annoying thing about that horse is look at last year.
Yeah,
this race, he runs well and he hits the board. He doesn't win, and so you can't even go off of that. You can't even be like, yeah, he's either going to run off the screen or run off the track. Basically, it literally could be anywhere. There's all options are on the table with him, and it's extremely irritating.
I thought his race in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year was one of the best races I'd seen a horse run ever. When you go back and watch, he ran so fast and he still almost won. Right? I mean, it was crazy. And people like to say, oh, he gets in a fight and he's done. And that's not really true. He gets in a fight and he's done when he doesn't want to run. He also just has no fight and he doesn't want to run and stops as well. And sometimes he'll fight you right back and hold you off. Like, he does whatever the hell he wants to do when he wants to do it.
I love this. Closest thing I can think of is my buddy Casey from high school diagnosed with bipolar, schizophrenia, and multi-personality disorder. That's pretty close. I think after the Pacific Classic, I think I did call him a schizophrenic. So yeah, I think that's kind of a good comparison. Listen, all right. So what would you be more shocked of? Would you be more shocked if Sovereignty lost, or more shocked if in the turf, one of the Rebels Romance, Ombudsman, or Mini Hawk, whoever ends up running in that, doesn't win?
I would be more shocked if Sovereignty lost.
Okay. I think that's a good sort of comparison, because we kind of both have talked about the turf being one of the other races we really, really like as far as horses. And so I just, for a comparison of your confidence level, I think that says a lot.
Well, and just to kind of be clear on one thing, if we would have sat here and done this, I think we may have done this October 9th. I have no idea if Lake Victoria was supposed to come over then or not. But if she wasn't then, I would have said something different than when I saw Lake Victoria was coming over. And then immediately that was my most likely winner, and I would be shocked. That could happen again, is what I'm trying to say. We could get an international horse and go, well, wait a second. As much as I like Sovereignty, maybe this horse is my best bet, right? So that could happen. But again, as we sit here right now with kind of the fields that we think are going to be here, it's Sovereignty for me. I would just be very, very surprised if he lost.
Yeah, I'm really I'm very excited to see this horse run. And again, we've seen this horse run, but I'm just excited he makes this race go in a sense of he could be something he's already a very special horse, but to go do what he's done this year and win the Classic against, and here's the thing, we know how horse racing goes, right? We're all afterwards like, well, it turned out it wasn't that good of a Classic, but everyone going into it is like, this is one of the best Classics we've ever had, right? In the 42nd year, I think it is, of Breeders' Cups, this is one of the best Classics we've ever had, and I don't necessarily disagree. You have the top 2 finishers from last year. You've got a really good 3-year-old class. You've got some interesting kind of like question marks and like mind frame and even antiquarian. And so I think it's a pretty deep field. And if he goes and dusts them similar to what we're about to see here in the Travers, and like he's done all year, frankly, other than the Florida Derby, then you're like, this is one of the all-timers, This is one of the, well, certainly one of the all-timer 3-year-olds that we've ever seen. And so to me, he brings a level of like, this isn't just a good horse race or a good horse. This is like, this could kind of be something we Flightline-esque in a sense that we talk about for a long time.
Yeah, he's the best 3-year-old I've seen since American Pharoah. So that's where I'm at with him. And, we've seen some good ones since then, but he's the best one for me. And, look, I think people are always going to point to, hey, Pharoah won the Triple Crown and then he won the Haskell and then, obviously the Classic. But let's say Sovereignty wins the Classic in kind of a Pharoah-esque effort, let's call it. I think he's just right up there with him. I think they're different running styles, but I just think their dominance would be very similar. But you got to win this race before you can start to talk like that. But I said it after the Belmont when we were walking out. I said if he can start to repeat that effort where he's sitting close, he's going to be really special, and that's exactly what he's done. So
he's such a cool horse to watch run. I mean,
Oh, he
because
is.
you watch that move that he makes that Frank, I mean, you look, it kind of looks like a horse that you're like, oh shit, you got to like, he's not firing. He's riding the hell out of him. But what happens is it's almost like a big, huge tank that you got to wind up, and you got to keep winding up and keep winding up. And the more you wind up, the stronger he gets. And this is a mile, again, the Travers is going, mile and a quarter race. And, we know he can do it. He's done it before, and the more the race goes, the stronger the horse looks. And of course, he dials it back at the end there. But it's kind of hard for me to like. He ran that almost too flat too, by the way, and he pulled him up late in the race. And so it seems very, very hard for me to say he can't. Look at that. Like it's going to be hard to beat him, man. It's going to be hard to beat him.
That field sucked, but Bracket Buster did come back and win the Oklahoma Derby. And I know it's the Oklahoma Derby and everybody's going to laugh at that. He did come back and win, right? So, and Magnitude didn't run that poorly in the Pennsylvania Derby after that either, right? So that race was not a good race as far as who he faced. And I'm not trying to say it was, but it's not like they were just horrible and he's in another class. And I'll say this, at the high level, I'm talking about the highest of the high levels. Very few times do you watch a horse and within a split second of picking that horse up in the lane that the race is over. Usually there's a little bit. I vividly remember picking him up for the first time in the stretch of the Derby and saying it's over. And then the Belmont, picking him up after I had watched journalism and I knew he was running a monster race. And I picked up Sovereignty and within a quarter of a second said, this is over. And not only is it over, it's not going to be close. You rarely watch a race at that high of a level and do that because you got to be really good to do that. You're facing other really good horses. I mean, I remember the Pegasus when we were there for the first ever Pegasus and Arrogant made the first tiny move. When they asked him to run, he was sitting about mid-pack. I looked at you and said, this race is over and it won't even be close because of just how fast he was moving compared to everybody else. That one sticks out, but there aren't many, there just aren't many that stick out in my mind when you watch a race. And that's when it's just an elite type of talent, right? Because it's not easy. I don't care what anybody says or anybody tells you. It is not easy to win those races by those kind of links. Maybe not the Travers as much, but you look back at that Belmont to just destroy journalism in Baeza that day. That ain't easy to do, folks. It's not at all. So he has really been special.
All right, so let's play. I'm going to play a little devil's advocate, even though I don't necessarily believe in it. But let's say he's like, one thing about Mod is he's so good at getting them ready, getting his horses ready for the fire on the big races. Now, You know, he worked backwards from the Derby. That worked well. He worked backwards from the Travers. That worked well. He hasn't ran since the Travers, you know? And so is there any concern, whether it be very small or not, that you're like, yeah, I mean, the only issue is he's worked, obviously, but he hasn't ran since 8/23/25 in the Travers, and this will be his first race since then. He hasn't had that. Oh, okay, the Jim Dandy was like he wasn't fully cranked, and then he was in the Travers, or the Florida Derby, he wasn't fully cranked, but he was in the Kentucky Derby. Any concern there?
I think it's a fair talking point for sure, but that's just kind of what modern horses are doing now more and more. You look at last year, Sierra Leone, Fierceness, Torpedo Anna, all of them, ran in the Travers and didn't run again until we saw them in the Classic. Right. So I think that's just kind of the new age of racing. I think Bill Mott can certainly do it. I'm not really concerned about that.
I'm not either, but I mean, I think it is something to it's a talking point, like you said.
For sure. Yeah.
Anyway, journalism and/or Bieza could turn the tables.
Yeah, there's a way because they're both very good. And so if Sovereignty doesn't show up with his best, kind of like you were describing, and for whatever reason, maybe it's that, maybe it's something different. Yeah, they can, because it's not like these horses have been bad. Both these horses run really well every time. You can think about something. Journalism every time runs a pretty much same race, right? Bieza, we were like, oh man, his Belmont was just terrible. He still ran third in that race, right? And all of his other races since he broke his maiden, what can you really say bad about it? Yeah, you lost to Journalism, you lost to Sovereignty. Okay, so is everybody else. So no, I think you can. Those horses are good enough to turn the tables, but they need a regression. I don't think they can progress enough to beat him. I think they need a Sovereignty regression.
Well, as I said, I think what makes the race kind of interesting, and from that regard, is that because and it's obvious, right? But because Sovereignty is in the race, those two become way less interesting, right? Yeah. And because we've seen, it's like we've had multiple examples of when they can't match up to him. But let's just say, for instance, Sovereignty wasn't in the race for whatever reason. You could sit there and be like, well, Bieza is, he's making a move. Like, he's starting to do well. He's starting to run better. He's maturing. And with Journalism, you could say, well, shit. I mean, yeah, he got beat by Fiercest, but he's so consistent that you could certainly see on his best day him getting the job done. He was a Derby favorite, not that long ago. So it's like there are worlds. I think the aspect of Sovereignty being in the race pushes him down, right? So because it's like, well, shit, we know they can't face him. So if for whatever reason he doesn't fire, those two certainly would become way more interesting.
Yeah, and I think, Fierce and Sierra Leone, Forever Young, that camp, I think it's easier to make a case that you could beat him because he hasn't faced them. And you could go, well, they're older horses, a little bit more mature, whatever case you want to make, right? But
yeah,
making a case for the 3-year-olds is hard because here's the deal. We haven't just seen it once. And it hasn't really been close the multiple times we've seen it. So that's why it makes it hard to think that he's going to lose to those horses.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he could not like the track. I mean,
could, very well could.
It's possible Del Mar can be funky sometimes for horses.
Yep.
Again, those are things that there's no way to know.
Well, I remember Del Mar, not last year. I can't remember. It was been a while. We were out there. I don't remember. Maybe 18. It was out there in 18. But anyway, one of those years, a few years back, it played really weird, and we had a lot of really weird results. That could happen any track, anywhere. That could happen, but it also might not. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of love, and it's very similar to like Fierceness and Sierra Leone, that in a sense that Forever Young, hasn't faced. He's only shows up for these big races, but he has ran well. And, is any interest in, you think he could get it done?
Not really.
Just playing it like he's had multiple opportunities, he hadn't been able to do it. Is that kind of where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, point to a race that wins it. That's my problem. I played him. I picked him on top last year, and he ran well, but
never really. Yeah.
He never looked like a winner last year. And now he's got the same 2 horses in this year, plus Sovereignty.
Yeah.
Plus Baeza, plus journalism. I think about third is where I could see him. I'll go this far to say I would be pretty surprised if he won.
Yeah, and I mean, even like you look back at like the Derby when it's like he had every opportunity to win that one and still couldn't get the job done. He's just been one of those horses that never really runs poorly for the most part, but always just hasn't quite been able to push through on those biggest days. And over here, anyways.
I will say this: he's a really, really nice horse, and for me to think that he doesn't have much of a chance here does speak to how good this field is, right?
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, that's a look at the Classic and all the races. Obviously, we are still, 3 weeks? Is it 3 weeks out? 1, 2, 3 weeks out from today would be the eve of the Breeders' Cup, and cannot wait. More coming. The fields will start taking more shape. Again, the Betting Bible is available right now over at racingdudes.com. You'll be the first to get it when it comes out. The 14 trends to the Breeders' Cup is included for free. Expect that to be out hopefully by tomorrow. Just waiting from the designer to get that wrapped up. But again, field's taking shape. More coming. racingdudes.com. I'm excited. The Classic is I'm already got the nerves working a little bit on that one. And I think come post time, the anticipation of one, it being just a really good race, and two, the possibilities of Sovereignty, what he might do or what the kind of show we might see is going to be very exciting.
I'll say this. I think we have 2 extremes coming into this Breeders' Cup. I think we're going to have a few races that are going to blow our minds when we see the fields. And then we're going to have a few races where we go, is this a grade 3 at Saratoga on a Friday? But I think the good news is I don't see any race whatsoever that seems like a bad betting race. Even those races where you go, I'm not sure this is a Breeders' Cup like talent or Breeders' Cup like field. It's still going to be very, very, very competitive racing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like, there's not, well, some of them, like I said, are ones where you're like, I don't know what to do with this one and I might stay away. They're very good betting races.
Mm-hmm.
And you bet your money or bet your ass I'll have money on
Yes.
them. It just might be one of those where you don't have a lot of confidence one way or another. But yeah, I'm with you. It should be a fun 2 days of racing. I do think once this starts to take shape, I do think we'll have at least 1 or 2. Obviously the Ted Nafi certainly looks, and even with Brandt, that would be fun, little showdown in that one. But I do think the Juvenile Turf or the Turf Sprint, whatever that ends up, I think there gonna be at least 1 or 2 kind of international looking powerhouses that will end up in those races. So I think the Juvenile Day is going to be fun. And then, Saturday with, I think the loser of, I don't want to say the loser, but the race that I was hoping would be really fun that I'm not as excited for is the distaff.
Yeah.
It just kind of is falling apart a little bit. But with that said, I do think one of those Baffords could be pretty dang good, and it could, at least be entertaining race. But, and if Nitrogen won or whatever, that would be fun. But overall, the Breeders' Cup in itself and the Classic, it'll be weird because the Classic, I don't know what race the Classic is. It's going to be earlier in the day because it's Del Mar and for TV rights and stuff. So it's going to be like, there's not, a lot of years when we go, or, it's like the buildup is like throughout the day, right? You just keep waiting for the Classic to get here. The Classic, you can't wait. And then this one, it's like the Classic is probably going to be like race 8 or something.
Yep. Yeah, I know. That does kind of suck when it's out in California, but we also don't have to wait around all day for it. So that's good too. My anxiety doesn't get as high because it happens, a little bit earlier in the day, but look, I think you're more than fair to say, hey, this distaff is pretty disappointing as far as the list of horses. But again, the flip side of it is what a betting race it's going to be. And you're going to be able to get prices, and you're going to be able to get prices that make a lot of sense. So,
yep. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Make sure, again, go over to the website at racingdudes.com for all our free and premium picks. Just you can see there on the button on the top right-hand corner of the main menu to find out more about the premium. You can also check out the Betting Bible page, which is on the menu as well, to learn more about what our betting Bibles are and the Breeders' Cup Betting Bible that's available right now. We're on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram, Facebook. You find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcast, YouTube. Make sure you hit us up on YouTube. Hit that like, notification bell, and subscribe. We have Blinkers Off live every Thursday right here on YouTube. Due to Bet, Magic Mike. What were the words from you and Papa Dude about the Chiefs on Due to Bet?
Oh, just laughing at how funny that was that they allowed that touchdown. Yeah, we both like the Lions this week. Lions look like the best team in the league after that whatever happened week 1 happened. So we both like the Lions.
I think the Lions will win as well. So the Chiefs are the offense. Like the offense is you may not agree, but the offense is as good as it's been in the last couple of years. I think it'll be even better once Rashid gets back. They're young and a lot of penalties, man. Penalties and just uncharacteristic things out of an Andy Reid type team. So, I think they'll get better. But the thing that's killing them is their just schedule is just brutal. And when they're making mistakes, and last year we were 11-0 in one possession games. Now we're 0-3 in these first 5 weeks or whatever. So it's reversed, and how they lose a 14-0 lead to the Jaguars that's one of those losses. You can make excuses or whatever for the Chargers game, Brazil, first game of the season, whatever. Worthy gets hurt beginning of the game. He was part of the focus of the game, whatever. Getting beat by the Eagles, another close game. Could have gone either way. Probably blew that one, but still. But this one is just inexcusable. You can't get penalized 13 times or 14 times, whatever it was. Allow maybe the most unathletic quarterback in the league to fall down twice and still get up untouched and run in, while your star defensive player, captain of the defense, is standing there watching with his hands on his hips the whole time. Just, again, inexcusable mistakes. And so when you do that, it's tough to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I don't know. I think they're kind of just a 10-win type of team. I do think it'll even out, but it's just kind of, I think that's where they're at. Now, again, I don't really know what that division is. They still might be able to win it, but right now they just kind of look like a normal NFL run-of-the-mill wild card / low division winner to me.
I think it's like a 10-win team, maybe. I kind of went through the schedule and around a 10-win team. Listen, the league wants like kind of these teams. They want this, right? They don't want the league is built to not have dynasties, to not have. So they want that kind of even throughout the league, and it seems like they're getting that. No more undefeated teams just through 5 weeks, and even the Bills, who I thought would definitely take care of the Patriots, lose that one at home, which Patriots may be up and coming, and Eagles lose the Broncos. There's a lot of kind of across the board, so I think it's wide open still. I'm with you though. If you kind of, other than the first week, to me, the Lions look like the best team. Defense looks good. Offense putting up like 40 a game. Their Chiefs are going to be, it's going to be tough. Next, what is it? Monday? Is it Sunday night or Monday night? I can't remember. I think it's Sunday night. So that's going to be a tough one for sure.
I think Sunday night, and the current version of these two teams, it feels like, the Lions are going to win that game. I haven't bet the NFL in like 3 weeks, though, because I think it is extremely, extremely tough to predict so far this year. It is wild. Look at last week. God, last week was impossible. I felt like maybe if you're listening and you won, that's great. You got a better read on it than me. But college football been really, really solid at. But boy, NFL has been super rough for me. So I just kind of like, take a little break. Hockey started. I don't have to look at this quite as much as far as the betting goes, because that is the one sport I could usually hammer out a few wins. So
Well,
tough,
and
tough
it's
betting,
been there's been a lot of, and maybe it just feels that way, but doesn't it feel like there's been just an insane amount of injuries this year, just of like star guys that have been are out and not playing?
Yeah.
Whether it go from all across the board, not just quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and it's just been one after another. It feels like, and guys going to IR. And so it's kind of in that sense, is whether they are coming back from IR at some point or completely off. It's made it really hard to figure out who's actually good, or they were good and now they're, without, look at the Cowboys, for instance. Cowboys lose CD, and yet the offense looks better without CD. So now he's coming back. Will they continue that? And then, so like there's some of those things that, like again, the Chiefs and getting Rasheed back, you would assume that would help the offense. But, again, you don't know. I just think that there's a lot of the injuries this year has made it hard too.
The overall play in the NFL is horrific, in my opinion. I think there are 5 or 6 teams, I would say, that are very fun to watch. And then there's 3 or 4 that are, they're okay. Don't have a lot of interest in watching the rest of these teams. And I'll be completely honest with you. Now, that's why the red zone works very good. If I didn't have the red zone, I probably wouldn't watch a lot of NFL. But the red zone makes it great because you're seeing the best aspects of all these games, and it's very entertaining. And I sit there all day. I'm not sitting here acting like I don't follow it, because I do. A lot of it's because of the red zone. Like, you look at some of these games, dude, I don't have a lot of interest in watching them because the play in the NFL is pretty brutal. So, it's been like that for me for about 4 years now. It just hasn't. I don't know why, but it just feels that way to me.
Well, unless the Chiefs are on, right? If the Chiefs are on, I'm watching the game. But if the Chiefs aren't on,
for you,
I have zero interest in watching anything other than red zone. Like zero.
Yes.
I don't care to watch. I mean, I'll say this. If it's like Bills versus Eagles or whatever, something like that, I might. But even then, I'm probably watching red zone, honestly. It's just more entertaining to do that, because I don't necessarily care that much about either one of those teams. So yeah, red zone has been a huge saver for me as well. So,
and maybe I'm being too extreme, but it's like Giants Eagles tonight. I think in the past I would probably watch about every play of that, and I just don't have a lot of interest. I mean, I'll watch
it because I'm a degenerate, but
I think I can live without watching much of it, and then check on my phone and be like, it's close. I'll turn it over.
Yeah. You get an alert saying, all right, I better turn it in and see what this last Thursday night's game was. Like the most oddly entertaining game of all time, because it wasn't ever really entertaining, but yet the game, it was, the Niners and the Rams, but they were just like, neither team would do much. And then toward the end, it got good. And, but yeah, this Thursday night game feels like it could be good, and I bet you it's not. So it just kind of feels like, and I hate the Eagles. I hate the Eagles so much. So I hate to watch them.
The example of last week's game, a horribly played game.
Just bad.
Right.
Just bad. Yeah.
But it was entertaining because it was close. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like, you don't see a lot of real crisp football outside of 5 or 6 teams. Right. So past that, it's a grab bag, right? Every week. And, it is like that every year, but it just seems more extreme now. You're either pretty darn good or you're really pretty poor.
Well, we'll see this weekend. I don't know what other big games there are, but hey, Joe Flacco will listen. It's an improvement from what they had. Jake Browning, maybe the worst quarterback I've ever seen.
What's crazy is like there's just not a lot of good quarterback play. The bottom half of the league, it's like, I could see why that guy is terrible. I've watched him for 5 minutes now. And you got to be desperate to get Joe Flacco. And it's
when he was traded, I was like thinking, it's like, how insane is it that not only is like he's still alive. He's still in the league, and he's getting traded for teams right now to play, to be a starter. And it's like, wow, like this dude is still got. I mean, he's still got something. I don't know what he's got, but he's got something.
Yeah, I saw that trade. I guess maybe they did try to work out trades for other people or something. I have no idea, right? But it's like, man, what is that really the best option? And I don't have anything against him, but he is so old, and it's just like, is that really the best you could have got? Surely there's something else out there, but maybe there's not.
I don't get what. Did you know that? And someone, Manlow, you can correct me. I think this is the stat that they play the Packers, and if they beat them, he'll be the first quarterback in NFL history to beat the same team twice in the same year with two different teams. Because that Browns actually did beat the Packers early this season as he was a quarterback. Now he's going to the Cincinnati Bengals, and if he were to beat them there, he would become the first quarterback ever to do two teams on two different teams.
The fact that they beat them that day is borderline hysterical. You watch that game. It was bad. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, he got benched for Dylan Gabriel. That's pretty, I don't know. That's not great. So.
Not good.
Although he didn't play that bad in that game last week. It wasn't awful.
He didn't. I've certainly seen worse from rookie quarterbacks.
Most of the rest of the day, if you tune into certain games. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's saying something. But yeah, it's so bad, Kevin, that I actually was like Jameis Winston wouldn't be bad for the Cincinnati Bengals. Just from they need some sort of spark. And that's saying something because he's insane. But that team looks so dead to rights when they're out on the offense that something needs to happen. Now, I don't know Joe Flacco's the answer from that aspect. He's not exactly Mr. Motivator. But it's Jake Browning looks like a deer in the headlights every single play. So I don't know. I mean, I guess technically that division is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Burrow's going to be back at some point. I don't know when. I guess they're hoping that Flacco at least levels it out somewhat to get until he gets back and they have a shot, which I don't think is necessarily impossible. And that's saying something about the AFC. So
I will say this. I'm shocked Jake Browning is this bad because he's filled in before and he hasn't been that bad. He's been okay. I mean, he had been great, but he's been okay.
I know.
It's weird.
No one expect. I mean, everyone's like, yeah, there's gonna be a hit, obviously, but he's been serviceable as a backup, and I think that's what Cincinnati thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, they did show some sort of signs of life last week, but I think that the Lions were just not even trying at that point. So.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up, guys. Again, we'll be in. I think the plan will be next week. We'll have more Breeders' Cup talk, and then maybe John will be on the next one. John White talking about his Breeders' Cup analysis, and then the week after will be Breeders' Cup week, which will have kind of the previews and the picks and all that good stuff. So here we go. Right, it's all hands on deck for the next couple weeks as we build up to the Breeders' Cup. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.